Hello, I am SP404 mkII. Let's get it started.
Before we get it started, I want to mention a few things.
1,
In this video, you'll learn foundational concepts of this device such as importing and recording samples, creating patterns, and using effects.
2,
The SP has a lot of depth to it. You may see a few concepts that seem advanced. This is just to hint at what's possible.
3,
Once you feel comfortable with these concepts, subsequent videos will build on this information as we explore the device in more depth.
4,
Lastly, I'm really excited to share this device with you because it's awesome and really versatile. Thanks for choosing to learn it with me. And thanks to this video's sponsor, Sweetwater, for making this possible. Let's get it started. The SP404 mkII is the latest version in the popular SP series from Roland. This device has many welcome updates and features. Notably, they upgraded to an OLED display, added 17 velocity-sensitive pads, and an instrument input for guitar and bass. More about that later. Under the hood, there have been numerous updates including an improved sequencer and DJ mode while still retaining popular features like 303 and 404 vinyl simulation effects. For the uninitiated, the SP404 is billed as a creative sampler and effects unit. There's over 40 onboard effects that are fun, easy to use, and sound great. It has a sequencer to create and play samples and patterns. There's stereo quarter-inch inputs and outputs as well as MIDI in and out. On the front, there's a quarter-inch input for a dynamic mic which can be switched to an instrument input for a guitar or bass. And there's both quarter-inch and eighth-inch headphone outputs. It's relatively lightweight and highly portable. It can be powered via the included power supply, 6 AA batteries, or via USB-C. USB-C also allows you to use the SP as an audio interface with a computer and transfer samples via an accompanying app. Lastly, it has 16 gigabytes of internal storage, which is expandable via an SD card. Let's discuss some of the key concepts of the 404. Projects are the main container file on the device. A total of 16 projects can be stored. Each project can have 160 patterns. Patterns are the backbone of the sequencer where notes are recorded in real time or programmed in. Patterns can be 1 measure all the way up to 64 measures long. Each project can have 160 samples. 144 samples come preloaded on the device along with several example patterns in a demo project. And tempo can be set in a project and in patterns. Though there are many samples preloaded on the machine, each project that you create will require importing or recording samples in order to make music. The power and creativity of the machine lies in the hands of the user and the samples you select. Spending time recording and importing material is part of the process and workflow of this device. Another thing to remember is that the SP saves data in real time. There's no need to save work before powering off the unit. Just don't power it off while it's processing data. If you record a sample, it is automatically saved into the current project. Same goes for settings. Importing samples via the accompanying SP404 mkII app is the easiest way to get samples into the device. For this, you will need a Mac or PC computer with a USB port, a USB cable, in my case, a USB-C to USB-C cable, and an SP404 mkII. Connect the USB cable to the computer, then to the SP404. Power on the SP. On the computer, launch the app. In the app, connect to the device. The current project on the device is displayed in the app by default, but you can select other projects from this app. All the banks of samples are shown at the bottom. White squares have samples loaded and the rest are empty. Similarly, looking at the SP, lit pads contain samples and the rest are empty. In the computer, find a sample you want to import and drag it onto an empty pad. The app will import the sample to the device in real time. We can also see a waveform and information about the sample. You can make edits to the sample as well as other settings in the project. The app adds a lot of value and can greatly speed up getting started with the device. Press disconnect in the app when finished. Recording samples directly onto the SP is a common workflow and allows for fully standalone use. You can record from one of the inputs, line, mic, instrument, and USB, or resample audio internally. Let's record some samples. Recording from a phone, tablet, or computer is easy and can yield a high-quality recording. Let's start by recording from an iPhone. Here's a list of what you'll need. An iPhone with a Lightning connector, a USB-C to USB-A cable, an Apple camera connection kit or Apple's Lightning to USB-A adapter, an SP404 mkII, headphones or speakers. A few notes. Apple's camera connection kit is necessary for the iPhone to export audio. Non-Apple devices may not work properly. Also, use the power supply or batteries to power the SP in this case. The phone won't be able to power the SP over USB-C. Connect the USB-A end into the camera connection kit. Then plug the kit into the iPhone's Lightning connector. Press the external source button on the SP so it's lit. Play music on the iPhone to test the signal. We should hear the signal coming through the SP. Let's record this signal. Press the record button. The screen will prompt you to select an empty pad to record into. Press one of the pads that is blinking. When ready, press the record button again. Countdown timer will start and recording will begin. When finished, press the record button or the lit pad. Press the external source button to mute the phone's signal. Press the pad to test the sample. Recording from a computer or tablet is similar to the phone, though there are some settings on the computer to set. Here's a quick list of what you'll need. A computer with either a USB-C or a USB-A port, a corresponding USB cable, an SP404 mkII, headphones or speakers. Connect the USB cable to the computer and the other end to the SP. On the computer, go to the Sound Settings menu. On a Mac, this is under System Settings, then Sound. Select the SP404 as an output device. Press the external source button so it's lit. Play music on the computer. Let's record a sample just as before. Press the record button, press a blinking pad, and then press record again. Press record when finished recording. Play the pad to test the sample. The editing tools for samples are quite powerful inside the SP. Trimming start and end points, envelope settings, normalizing, reversing, looping, and chopping samples is all possible on the SP. Let's look at a few ways to edit samples. The first thing you may want to do after recording a sample is to edit its timing. Playing the pad, we can tell that the start of the sample has some open space before we hear the sound. Let's trim the start point of this sample. Press the Start End button. This brings up a waveform of the sample on the display. Use the Ctrl+1 knob to adjust the start point of the sample. Get it close and play the pad to test it out. It's still a bit off. Use the Value knob to zoom in. Use the Ctrl+1 knob to get the start point closer. You can use the Ctrl+2 knob to adjust the loop point of a sample and Ctrl+3 to adjust the endpoint. We can edit the sample in other ways. Knowing that the SP saves in real time, certain edits we make to a sample will overwrite it automatically. Therefore, it's a good idea to make copies of a sample before editing them, especially as you're learning and experimenting. Press the Copy button. Select which sample you want to copy, then select a pad to paste it to. Press Copy again to confirm. We now have a copy to edit while preserving the original sample.
Let me see that donkey roll.
Pitching a sample or changing its speed is another common edit. Press the Pitch Speed button. Use the control knobs to adjust parameters. By default, the SP uses vinyl mode, which links speed and pitch just like a turntable does. Hold Shift and rotate the Value knob to switch to Vary mode. Here you can adjust speed and pitch separately as well as other settings. There are 4 buttons below the Start, End, and Pitch Speed buttons, which are very common to use when editing samples. BPM Sync will time stretch a sample to the project's BPM when this button is lit.
Let me see that donkey roll. Let me see that donkey roll.
When Gate is lit, the duration of a sample will play as long as you hold its pad.
Let me see
If it's
that.
unlit, it will allow the sample to be triggered from start to finish.
Let me see that donkey roll.
Loop will loop playback of a sample. This is good for longer samples like drum and melodic loops. Holding Shift and pressing Loop will ping-pong playback back and forth. You can set the loop point in the Start-End screen. Reverse will reverse playback of a sample. Note, with looping samples, they will continue to play until you stop them. Press the pad again to stop it, or press Exit 4 times to stop all playback. Let's say you didn't like how you recorded a sample and you want to delete it so you can try again. Press the Delete button. DEL will display letting you know you are in delete mode. Press a pad to delete it. Then press Delete again to confirm. The sample is now permanently deleted from the device. There's a few other recording techniques like resampling and skip-back sampling, but let's return back to these once we learn about patterns and effects. Now that we have some samples in the SP, we can create some patterns. The pattern sequencer turns this from a sampler into a drum machine or standalone workstation. This is likely where some people get stuck with this device. Getting started with patterns isn't obvious. There's no transport controls, and the workflow is rather unique. Let's take our time to explain this workflow. Hopefully, you'll find that it's relatively simple. Understanding tempo settings on the SP may actually be a more advanced topic. Here's the basics. Tempo, or BPM, can be set at the project level, the pattern level, the sample level, and the bank level. It may be easiest to set the tempo at the project level so that everything will follow that setting. Press and hold Shift and then press Pad 11. Use Control Knob 1 to select Project. Then rotate the Value knob to set the BPM. Likewise, you can tap the tempo in using the sub pad. Press Exit when finished. Only one pattern can play at a time. Playing patterns is done like this. Press the Pattern Select button so it's lit. PTN will display letting us know we're in pattern mode. The blinking pads contain patterns, while blank patterns are empty. Pressing a blinking pad will start playback of that pattern. Pressing the pad again or pressing Exit will stop playback. Additionally, with a pattern playing, selecting another lit pad will play that pattern after the current one finishes. Or press and hold the sub-pad button and select a pattern to instantly play it. Press the Exit button to stop playback. Patterns can be created in two ways: real-time recording and step programming, aka TRREC. Let's look at both. Real-time recording means the notes you play in real time will be captured into a pattern. The advantage of this method is the timing and velocity of your playing is captured for a more humanized performance. There's also various quantization settings for customizing how tight or loose you want the performance to be. Press Pattern Select so it's lit. It's helpful to record with the metronome. Press and hold Shift and then press Pad 9. This toggles the metronome on and off. It's also useful to have a count-in timer before recording begins. Press and hold Shift, then press Pad 10. This cycles through different count-in options. Press the Record button. The pads will blink, indicating empty patterns. Press a pad. The screen will display settings of that pattern, such as its BPM, length, and quantization settings. Use the control knobs and the value knob to adjust settings. When ready, press the Record button. Recording will start after the count-in. Pressing the Record button toggles it between rehearsal mode and recording mode. While in rehearsal mode, we can try samples and practice playing them. When ready, press the Record button again to switch to recording mode. Now play the pads and they will be captured in the pattern. When finished, press the Exit button. The SP404 mkII features velocity-sensitive pads. You can switch between velocity-sensitive pads and fixed velocity pads by pressing and holding Shift and then pressing Pad 1. Also, you can customize the settings of the pads by pressing and holding Shift and Pad 15. The SP features a 16 velocity mode where a single sample is spread across the pads from minimum to maximum velocity. This is helpful for playing a sample at varying levels to get a humanized feel. The trick to recording in this mode is to start the recording first. Press Pattern Select, select a pattern to start playback, then press Record to enter recording mode. Press Record again to enter rehearsal mode. Press a pad to select the sample to use. Press and hold Shift and then Pad 2. The display will show the velocity level of each pad. The bottom left is the lowest and top right is the highest. Press Record to enter recording mode. Play the pads. Press the Exit button to close 16 velocity mode. Press the Exit button to stop recording mode, and press Exit again to stop playback. The SP has a chromatic mode to transpose a sample across a chromatic scale. This allows you to play a single sample melodically, as if it were on a keyboard. Select a sample you want to use. I'm going to use this bass note. Press and hold Shift, and then press Pad 4 to enter chromatic mode. The display shows how the sample is spread across the pads using a 12-note chromatic scale. Play the pads to hear the scale. Rotate the value knob to adjust the octave of the scale up or down. The pads are color-coded by octave. And the white pad is the original sample and the root note of the scale. Press the value knob to select a different scale, like major or minor. Now the pads will only play in that scale. On the display, we see the root note of the scale in brackets. Press and hold Roll, then rotate the value knob to select a different note. Just a quick note about the numbering on the display. The display shows 12 notes regardless of the selected scale. Roland, if you're listening, it would be helpful if these changed to scale degrees 1 through 7 instead when this is set to a scale other than chromatic. Press the exit button to close chromatic mode. To record notes using chromatic mode, we need to play the pattern first. Press the pattern select button, select a blinking pattern, then press record. Press record again to enter rehearsal mode. Press a pad to select a sample. Press and hold Shift, then pad 4. Practice playing notes. When ready, press record to switch to recording mode. Play notes. Press exit to close chromatic mode. Press exit again to leave recording mode and again to stop playback. Let's say you played some notes and didn't like their timing. Press and hold Shift and then press pattern select. This will undo the last action. Notice the 16 boxes on the left side of the screen. Those represent the number of undos you potentially have. A solid box means there's something to undo. There's other ways to remove notes you don't want. With the pattern playing in record mode, press the delete button. This puts the sequencer into erase mode indicated by blue pads. You can see the pads light up, indicating when notes are played. Pressing a pad will erase that note in real time. Holding a pad will erase any notes that occur while held. Press the delete button again to return to record mode. TR-Rec is what Roland calls the step sequencer in the SP. Like the Roland TR-808 and TR-909 drum machines, there are 16 steps that make up a measure of a pattern. The advantage of this method is that it allows you to quickly add notes with precision without having to play them in real time. Press the pattern select button so it's lit, then press record. Press a blinking pad to select an empty pattern. In the settings screen, there are settings for the pattern you are about to create. Press the remain button to toggle the mode between real-time and TR-Rec. Press record again to start playback and entering notes. For the step sequencer, we may not want the metronome on. Press and hold Shift, then press pad 9 to turn it off. The 16 pads show the playhead of the pattern with a green LED. On the display at the bottom of the screen, we see where the playhead is in the pattern. Use the value knob to advance the pattern by each measure. Notice that the pad lights change for each measure. Press and hold the sub pad button. Press pads to select a sample. You can also use the pad bank buttons to switch banks. When you find a sample you want to use, release subpad. Now here's a key concept about entering notes. You need to set your parameters for each step before entering them. Use the control knobs to adjust settings like velocity or pitch. Press and hold Shift for additional settings like timing. When ready, enter the notes you want the sample to play on. Repeat this process to enter additional notes. Press and hold subpad to select a different sample and release when you find one. Adjust parameters and enter one or more steps. A few notes to keep in mind about TR-Rec. Once a step is entered, it's not possible to select it. You'll have to repeat the process of entering it by selecting a sample, adjusting parameters, and placing the step. Roland, if you're listening, it would be great if you could press and hold the value knob and press a step to select it without it being removed. Ideally, users could change the parameters of a step once it's been entered. Additionally, the two ways to create patterns can be used together. For example, you can play one sample in real time, then switch to TR-Rec to add others. Or you can start in TR-Rec and then switch to real-time mode to add other samples. Let's say you want to edit an existing pattern. You can edit that pattern in real-time or TR-Rec, and it's helpful to quickly switch between the two. While a pattern is playing, press and hold Shift, then press the record button. This will take you into TR-Rec mode. Again, use the sub-pad button to select a sample, then enter or delete notes. Press exit to close TR-Rec mode. With the pattern still playing, press the record button. When the pattern loops to the beginning, it will enter recording mode. Press the record button to toggle between rehearsal and recording mode. Play notes into the pattern as we learned earlier. When finished, press the exit button and press it again to stop the pattern. Now that we have some patterns created in the SP, we can chain patterns together into a song or a performance. Up to 16 patterns can be connected into a chain, and 16 pattern chains can be stored in a project. Press and hold the hold button. Select one of the 16 pads to select a pattern chain. The display will show which pattern chain is selected and the patterns within it. Press the pads to select a sequence for the pattern chain. Use the value knob to select a pattern in the chain. Press the delete button to remove the selected pattern from the chain. Press the sub-pad button to play the current pattern chain. Press sub-pad again to stop the current pattern chain. The effects on the SP404 mkII are a very fun part of using the device. Effects can be applied to an incoming signal, to one or more samples, or to playback of patterns. 6 direct effects are located next to the display for quick access, and these can be customized. There's additional ways to use the effects. Effects can also be used in one of the 4 effects buses. Let's explore a few ways to apply effects. Let's connect an external source to the SP via its line input. This is a common way to use the SP, and for some users, it might be the main way they use it. What you'll need for this: any device that makes sound that has a line level output. Let's use a synth like this OP1 field, a cable to connect the devices. In this case, a 2/4 inch TS to 1/8 inch TRS cable, headphones or speakers. Connect the 1/4 inch ends of the cable to the line input on the SP and the 1/8 inch end to the line output on the synth. Press the external source button on the SP so that it's lit. Play notes on the synth to test the signal. The signal should be dry. Let's press one of the 6 effects next to the display so that it's lit. Now play the notes on the synth again. You should hear the affected signal. And we can use the control knobs to adjust parameters of the current effect. If the parameter has a little arrow next to it, press and hold the value knob to access additional parameters. MFX is a direct effect that you can quickly assign different effects to. To swap effects, press and hold the MFX button. A list of effects is displayed. Use the value knob to navigate the list. While holding MFX, press the isolator button to get to page 3 of the list, and press DJ Effects Looper to get to page 2. Press a pad to select a corresponding effect. Release MFX when finished. Now press MFX to engage and disengage the effect. Press the external source button to mute the input signal. By connecting a microphone to the SP, you can record acoustic sounds, sing along, or use the mic to talk to the crowd at a show. Here's what you'll need: a dynamic microphone. In this case, I'm using a Shure SM58, a female-to-male XLR cable, a female XLR to 1/4 inch male adapter, an SP404 mkII, headphones or speakers. Connect the female end of the XLR cable to the microphone. Connect the male end of the cable to the XLR adapter. Plug the adapter into the SP's 1/4 inch input on the front of the unit. Flip the switch next to the input to mic if it isn't already. Press the external source button until it's lit.
Yo.
Talk into the mic to test the signal.
Travis, your car is double parked.
Adjust the input gain knob next to the input until you have a good signal.
Who knows the donkey roll?
You could press one of the 6 effects buttons to apply an effect to the mic signal.
Your car is double parked.
You could also apply a dedicated effect to the input. Press and hold Shift and then press the external source button. Displayed are settings for the input. We can use the control knobs to adjust these settings. Press the value knob to assign an effect to the input. By default, it should be bypassed. Press the value knob to highlight effect type. Rotate the value knob to scroll through effects. Talk into the mic to test the signal.
1, 2, check.
Press the value knob to confirm the selection. You can rotate the value knob to select parameters of the effect. Use the control knobs to adjust the selected parameters.
Check. 1.
Press the exit button to return back to the input settings screen. Press exit again to close the screen. This effect will be applied to any incoming signal. To disengage the input effect, go back into the input settings screen, press the value knob, rotate it to select bypass, and press exit twice to close the screen. FX buses might be approaching more advanced topics, and I might lose some of you if I dive into it. Here's just a quick tip for assigning effects to buses. Press the bus effect button to select a bus and to assign an effect. If we select one of the direct effects, it will be applied to the selected bus. Press bus effects again to select the other bus. Then press one of the direct effects. Play some pads or a pattern to hear this in effect. The advantage to buses is that you can apply multiple effects to a pad and route pads to different effects. Let's bypass the bus effects for now. Press the effect to bypass it. Press the bus effect again to select the other bus. Then press the effect that was selected to bypass it. Now that we know how to record and edit samples, create patterns, and apply effects, resampling allows us to layer multiple samples and turn a performance or a pattern into an individual sample. Layering multiple samples into a single one is common. We can use the Pad Link feature to help us in this process. Press and hold Shift, then Pad 7. The display will show 10 sets of links. Use the value knob to select one, then press up to 5 pads you want to trigger together. And remember, you can change banks to select any sample in the project. Press Exit when finished. Play the pads to test them. With the pads linked, let's record them into a new sample. Press Resample. If you press the Record Setting button, we see settings for the recording. Make sure routing is set to mix using Control Knob 2. Also, you can apply an effect by pressing the value knob and selecting one. Press Exit when finished adjusting settings. Select a blinking pad. Now play one of the linked pads. Recording should start when the pad is pressed. Press Record when finished. Play the pad to test it. We can unlink these pads now that we resampled them. We can also resample a pattern into a sample. Press Pattern Select so that it's lit. Press Resample. Select a blinking pad. Next, select a pattern to start playback and resampling. You can play multiple patterns. And if you want, you can also apply effects. Press Record when finished. Play the pad to hear it. Now that we know how to resample, let's record an external source while a pattern plays. Let's record a guitar. For this, you will need the following: a guitar or a bass, a mono 1/4-inch instrument cable, an SP404 mkII, headphones or speakers. Let's connect a guitar to the 1/4-inch input on the front using an instrument cable. Next to the input, flip the switch to guitar. Press the external source button so that it's lit. Play the guitar to test the signal. Adjust input gain with the knob next to the input. Let's add an effect to this input. Press and hold Shift, then press External Source. Press the value knob to select Effect Type. Rotate the value knob to select an effect. The guitar amp simulator seems appropriate. Press the value knob and rotate it to select the first row of settings. Use Ctrl 1 to select various amp types. You can also set the EQ in the second row. Press Exit twice when finished. Press Pattern Select so that it's lit. Press Resample. Select a blank pad to sample into. Press Record Setting. Change the routing to External Input. When ready, select a pattern to start playback and resampling. When finished, press Record. If we play the sample, we should hear just the guitar. And we can edit the start and end points of the sample and make any other edits. Skip back sampling is a very useful feature for capturing audio on the fly. The SP continually records playback and stores 25 seconds by default and can be set to 40 seconds. It's important to know that it's recording whatever the routing is set to, either mix or external input. Press Resample, then press Record Setting. Change the routing to mix so that skip back is recording the internal mix, then press Exit twice. Now, whatever samples or patterns we play, the last 25 seconds will be stored for skip back sampling. Let's play some sample pads for example. Maybe you're practicing your finger drumming and something amazing happens. Press the Mark button. The display will show the skip back recording. Press the Subpad button to play back the recording. You can edit the start and end points to get the exact moment you want to save. Press the value knob. We can truncate the sample, which permanently crops it to the start and end points. We can also normalize it. When finished making edits, press Record. Now select a pad to save the sample to. Play the pad to hear the sample. Skip back sampling is also handy when you're jamming along to a pattern with an external instrument. With a guitar connected and our sound dialed in, press and hold Shift, then press External Source. Change the routing to External Input. Press Exit to close the screen. Press External Source so that it's lit. Let's play a pattern and jam until we find something cool. Press Pattern Select and select a pattern to start playback. Okay, let's say we played something that we like. Press the Mark button. Let's edit the start and end points. Make any other edits, and then press Record. Select a blinking pad to save this recording to. Play the pad to hear it. A quick word about this video's sponsor, Sweetwater. I've purchased a lot of gear through them over the years because of their selection and pricing, and I keep coming back because of their exceptional customer service. If you're interested in the SP404 mkII or other gear I recommend, check out the description for a link to my affiliate page on Sweetwater's site. Hey, it's been fun showing you the SP404 mkII. Please subscribe if you learned something. Samples from this video are available on Patreon, and check out the description for ways to support the channel and additional videos to watch. Special thanks to Sweetwater for sending this device over. Peace!